Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Epic Sports Broadcasting Network for a preview show of the Epic Basketball League 1971-72 season, which will be starting here on the network next Friday night. Not quite ready to get things rolling yet this week, as I have just finished a very exciting tournament of History Maker Baseball, but things are laid out and ready to go for the beginning of basketball, the return of basketball to the channel beginning next week. Now, I thought I would start by a recap of the 1970-71 Epic Basketball League. And you can see here on the screen the standings, the final standings from last year's season. As you will recall, the Epic Basketball League is a three-tiered relegation league. Let's see, I want to go to that. Okay, guys, do you hear me now? I have gone to the headset and it looks like I'm picking up from the headset. Are we getting some sound here now? According to OBS, we should be getting sound. Unless everybody has just bailed out. Looks like we got a couple of viewers online. Okay, very good. Yes. Welcome to Sports Time Machine Mike and Raider 42. And on the screen we have the final standings of the 1970-71 Epic Basketball League, the previous season. And as I mentioned when I was talking into the midair to be heard by nobody but myself, the Epic Basketball League is a three-tiered league divided up into gold, silver, and bronze. And to begin the 1970-71 season, we put the top six teams from 69-70 into the gold division. Games are played only within your own division, 2 home and 2 away against each opponent. And the Milwaukee Bucks, led by Lou Alcindor and Oscar Robertson, along with Bobby Dandridge, swept through the gold division with a 20-0 record and swept through the playoffs, losing only a couple of games in the semifinal round to the Atlanta Hawks before winning it all. Here are the playoff brackets. And we started the playoffs with the bronze tier. So every team that was in the league had an opportunity to get into the playoffs, but the bronze division had to win there. As you can see, San Diego moved forward to the silver tier playoffs, as did San Francisco, taking the 7 and 8 slots. Then we played down to the top two teams in the Silver Division, the Cincinnati Royals and the Detroit Pistons, who then moved up into the Gold tier of playoffs, where Cincinnati actually upset the Los Angeles Lakers en route to the semifinals. Atlanta and Milwaukee played in the semifinals, and you can see the two games that Milwaukee lost occurred in that semifinal round. But in the finals, the New York Knicks and the Milwaukee Bucks squared off, and it was Milwaukee sweeping the series to win the playoffs. Lou Alcindor was your league MVP. He was your playoff MVP. He was Mr. Everything. Although the Big E, Elton Hayes, was the leading scorer in the league. That brings us to the coming season, 1971-72, and I have the division tiers set up over here. So as you can see, the Chicago Bulls moved up to the Gold tier, as did the Cincinnati Royals. Seattle and Cincinnati were tied, but they played each other in the playoffs, and Cincinnati won that series and earned the berth in the Gold division for 71-72, along with the top four remaining teams, Milwaukee, New York, Los Angeles, and Atlanta. Moving down was Philadelphia and Baltimore into the Silver Division, where they are joined by Silver Division holdovers, the Seattle Supersonics and the Boston Celtics, as well as the teams that moved up from the Bronze Division. And ironically enough, the two teams that moved up were also the two teams that relocated over the 1971 off-season. The San Francisco Warriors moved across the bay to Oakland and became known as Golden State. The San Diego Rockets moved over to Houston and became the Houston Rockets. Dropping down from silver to bronze were the Detroit Pistons and the Phoenix Suns, and they are joined by Bronze Division holdovers Portland, Cleveland, and Buffalo. So that is the setup for 1971-72. Once again, we will play a 20-game regular season schedule for each team. And we will show a game on the Epic Sports Broadcasting Network every Friday night. For the first 10 weeks, we will try to highlight every team in the league. So you'll see every team on this list at least once. That will get us about to the midpoint or past the midpoint of the season. And after the midpoint of the season, we'll continue our weekly game broadcasts with games that have more playoff importance or relegation importance. And then when we get through the 20-game regular season, we will head into the three-tiered playoffs as we did the previous year. 1971-72 was an interesting season in a number of respects. First of all, you had the relocation of the two franchises, as we discussed. Also, you had the last appearance in basketball of Lou Alcindor. It was during the 70-71 offseason that Lou Alcindor changed his name to Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. And in the 1971-72 season, you will see Kareem Abdul-Jabbar playing for the Milwaukee Bucks. The big story in 71-72 NBA was the Los Angeles Lakers. They won 69 games, and that was a record that stood until 1995-96. Also, in that season, 71-72, the Lakers won 33 straight, and that is a record that still stands today, almost 40 years later. The Lakers defeated the New York Knicks in the finals in 5 games, as Wilt Chamberlain was the series MVP, along with Gail Goodrich and Jerry West made up a formidable Los Angeles team that went on that 69-game record-setting season. The Knicks were led by Walt Frazier, and he was joined early in the season by Earl Monroe to form what they called the Rolls-Royce backcourt when Monroe was traded 7 games into the season from the Golden State Warriors in exchange for Cazzie Russell. Also, shockingly early in the 71 season, Elgin Baylor retired. He played a handful of games early in the season, but retired early on from the Lakers. The Lakers didn't miss a beat. Question for Mike. How many teams make the playoffs? Um, they all do. But how that works is, as we showed earlier, the playoffs will begin with the bronze tier. So these 5 teams will play until there are just 2 remaining. And the 2 that survive the bronze tier will move up to the silver tier for a second level of playoffs. And the 2 teams that survive that level of playoffs will move to the gold tier and the chance at the championship. So yeah, you want to be in that gold tier because then you've only got to go through 1 level of playoffs. And it's based upon the final regular season standings. The bottom 2 teams get dropped and the top 2 teams from the lower tier get promoted. And we say hello to Dave Gardner. So that's what the playoffs will look like at the end of the season. Players to watch in 1971-72. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, the former Lou Alcindor, put up 34.8 points per game in the 71-72 NBA regular season, which was enough to make him by far the league's leading scorer and was his career high as he ran away with the league MVP award. The Rookie of the Year was Sidney Wicks of the Portland Trailblazers, coming out of UCLA where he was the number 2 overall pick. Wicks had a sensational rookie year with 24 points per game to go with 11 rebounds and 4 assists. We'll take a look at the All-Pro team from 71-72. These are some players to watch. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, obviously. Spencer Haywood, another rookie from the Seattle Supersonics. And the veterans, John Havlicek from Boston, Jerry West from the Lakers, and the flashy point guard slash shooting guard from the New York Knicks, Walt Frazier, also known as Clyde the Glide. The all-rookie team was Sidney Wicks, who was the number 2 overall pick. The number 1 overall pick was Austin Carr of the Cleveland Cavaliers. He came out of Notre Dame and also made the all-rookie team in 71-72. Elmore Smith from Buffalo made that team as a first-round pick. Phil Chenier was selected in the NBA hardship draft, which was a thing back then. And Clifford Ray, who was a second-round pick, rounded out the NBA all-rookie team. The first team all-defensive squad was led by Dave Debusschere, the rugged small forward from the New York Knicks, who also did some pitching for the Chicago White Sox during his athletic career. John Havlicek, Wilt Chamberlain of the Lakers, and Jerry West of the Lakers, a very dominating and intimidating force defensively. And of course, the NBA steals leader, Walt Frazier, got a spot on the first team, all-defensive team, although he was tied with Jerry Sloan, another rough, tough ball player from the Chicago Bulls, who was perhaps best known to our generation as the longtime coach of the Utah Jazz, just passed away recently. Draft highlights finally. There were actually 19 rounds of drafting in the 1971-72 NBA for a total of 237 picks. And of those 237 picks, 54 actually played in the NBA. Not all 17 of the teams picked into the 237 into the 54th round, into the 19th round. They kind of fell off as they lost interest. But a total of 19 rounds were conducted and 237 players were picked. Austin Carr, as I mentioned, was the first overall pick. with Sidney, Wicks, number 2. A total of 7 players from this draft made the NBA All-Star team at some point in their career. Carr and Wicks, Freddie Brown from Seattle, who was number 6 overall. From the second round, Spencer Haywood. From round 7, a couple of 7th round picks, Artis Gilmore and Randy Smith, also made All-Star teams at some point in their careers. And Artis Gilmore in round 7, pick number 117, was quite the bargain, as he not only was an All-Star, he went on, along with Spencer Haywood, to be the 2 members of the draft class of 1971 to make it to the Basketball Hall of Fame. All right, so once again, we will start with live games next Friday night. The first live game of the season will be the Los Angeles Lakers against the Milwaukee Bucks, the 2 top teams in the league, and the 2 teams that would move into the deep into the playoffs. They will start off with the first weekly game of the week, and over the first 10 weeks of Epic Basketball League play on Friday nights, as I mentioned, we will see all of these teams in action at least once. That will get us about halfway through the season. We'll get through the second half of the season with whatever games are most relevant to the playoff picture and to the relegation hunt. And then we will go to the 3-tiered playoff system as previously, with the bronze tier playoffs feeding 2 teams into the silver division. The silver tier playoffs will feed their top 2 teams into the gold division. And the gold division playoffs will crown the eventual champion of the 1971-72 Epic Basketball League. And that will begin next Friday night. Here's a comment from Raider 42. Watched Phil Chenier when he played for Berkeley High. Great high school basketball star in California. Great to hear. And we're going to have some fun with the 71-72 Epic Basketball League, with the likes of Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Wilt Chamberlain, Jerry West, sensational rookies Austin Carr and Sidney Wicks, Spencer Haywood, Artis Gilmore, and of course the Boston Celtics will be attempting to move up into the gold division behind John Havlicek and Dave Cowens. And we'll see which of these bronze division teams breaks through and moves up into contention for the silver division for the 72-73 season. All right, everybody, that is our stream for tonight and our preview show for the upcoming season. Welcome, Clinton Parks. Some serious players. Artis Gilmore from Jacksonville. Yeah, if you just joined us, Artis Gilmore was a 7th round pick, number 117 overall, and went on to become a Basketball Hall of Fame member, along with Spencer Haywood from the 1971 NBA Draft. So that's our preview for the upcoming Epic Basketball League season. We'll start next week with the Lakers and Bucks. And until then, fans, thank you for joining us here tonight. Clinton Parks, Raider 42, Dave Gardner, Sports Time Machine, Ken Castro. Thanks, everybody, for hanging out here tonight. That's our stream, and I am out of here.